Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 16 millimeter film crew. I'm Cindy.
And I'm Dale.
You can watch us on YouTube. You can like and comment on our YouTube videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can listen to us everywhere podcasts are found at 16 millimeter film crew podcast. And you can visit us on our website at www.16millimeterfilmcrew.com. This week we watched One of Them Days, directed by Lawrence Lamont. When her boyfriend takes her rent money, Alyssa and her roommate race against the clock to avoid eviction and keep their friendship intact. This movie stars Keke Palmer, SZA, Cat Williams, and Vanessa Bell Calloway. It is produced by Issa Rae. So, Dale, thoughts on this film?
I mean, for me, I don't know. I can understand why people would like this movie. It builds off the established catalog or content that Issa Rae started with. Awkward Black Girl, and then with her show. I don't, and it's more. I think this is typical of a lot of this movie's more marketed, I guess, toward Black women, which is there is a vast lack of Black films, particularly Black films that build and lean upon Black sisterhood and Black friendship. There's a lack of that. But with that in mind, I understand that there are some things in the movie that are not going to vibe for me because, like I said, I'm not the target audience. But I do thought it was a good story with about a bond. Like whether you're a guy or girl, you can understand the bond you have with your friend through thick and thin. No matter how much they pissed you off and they're stupid, like that friend is the person you're down for, and all that set within the backdrop of like the artificial slash heightened chaos that is comes with living in the hood and paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, I really like this movie a lot. I heard so many good things about it, so I was excited to watch it. And I was very surprised that am I gonna call her Scissor or Solange? Solan. How do you pronounce her
I don't
name?
even know. I don't know her real name. I know her
Her name
stage
is like
name.
Solan or something like that. Or
Solana. I don't know.
it's something like that.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just say Scissor since I don't know since I don't know her real name or how to pronounce her real name. Oh yeah, it's Solana. Solana, that's her real name. Um, she's such a good actress. Like I was so blown away by like the fact that she was like emoting and like giving what she needed to give in each scene. And I really loved her and Keke Palmer's chemistry. I thought that was so great. Um, Sometimes when musicians try to do acting, it doesn't always work. So like I was a little nervous about this one, but I think she did a really good job. Um, and I really appreciated the fact that like she was able to meet the moment of like what the character needed and to do that.
Mm.
And she was really good at it. So I really enjoyed that. Keke Palmer, comedian of our generation, like she's always been fantastic. So like I expected nothing less from her, honestly. She was great. But I also like the inclusion of other like emerging Black comedians.
Mhm.
There's an actor who is in this, and I don't know his name, but he's also in the studio. Um, he's amazing, and I'm so happy I watched the studio first. So like when he popped up, I knew who he was. Um, but is it her name is Janelle, right?
Yeah.
Who is also on Abbott Elementary. She plays Ava. I was glad that she was in this movie. Um, the Cat Williams of it all, I was not expecting that, but him popping up in this was very funny to me. I was just like, I just wasn't expecting him to be in this film. But like, I really loved the fact that like you saw like all this emerging talent, like even other actors who there's another actor in here who's like giving out the loans who was also in Abbott Elementary and also in the studio. Like she's an up and coming comedian, like she's killing it. So like that's really fun. I think that it's really nice to like support emerging talent.
Mhm.
And I feel like in Hollywood, you're kind of getting the same kind of 10, 12 actors. So it's really nice to like see younger talent come up and have a platform to act in it. Besides that, though, the kind of like craziness of like, let's make it, let's see if we're gonna make rent, and then also let's see if we're gonna stay alive of it all. Was really fun. And I
Hmm.
just really enjoyed it. It doesn't, the pace of it is really good. Like I never felt like I was bored at any minute, which is really good. I feel like they kept tension up. Something was always happening. And I really thought that that was great to hold my attention. Sometimes I can, depending on what the movie is and the pacing of it, sometimes I do get distracted. And I was like locked in. I was like, this movie is hilarious. All the scenarios were like really just like insane, but also super relatable.
Hmm.
They were hitting on certain themes that especially when it comes to like class, like that was a huge thing, but also like renters being terrible, that was a huge thing, and that was in this, something that people, that most people are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, especially if you're living in like a metropolitan city like LA. So
Hmm.
I just thought that they were hitting on like really key things without being preachy, without trying to like shove a message down your throat. It was just like, this is the situation of these two people, like this is what they're going through. People living paycheck to paycheck. Like I really respected that Keke Palmer is like ambitious, but like her ambition is really to like just be a manager at this restaurant. Like
Yeah.
she's not trying to be like a mogul or something like that. Like it's very realistic. Like at the end, everything isn't like wrapped up and they're not like, you know, worth millions of dollars and they're going to be famous or whatever. Like it's nothing like that. It's all very grounded. And I really enjoyed that because it makes you feel like it's something that like you can recognize your life in it more.
Relatable.
Yeah, exactly. And I really enjoyed that. It was really fun. Like I really, really liked this movie. Like I did. I feel like the Sinners thing kind of made me a little sad because everyone was hyping it up so much. And when I watched it, I didn't feel what everyone else felt, and it made me kind of sad. And I was just like, have I just been watching too much white media that like it's desensitized me from like enjoying black media when I see it? And I'm like, no, that can't be true, right? And I was like having a crisis. So watching this movie kind of helped reaffirm me, like, oh, okay, no, it's not that, it's not that. Like I love this movie so much, so like let me
Hmm.
just take a moment and get out of my head. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah. I mean, I think that with Sinners, I think it goes back to what your expectations of a movie, going in and expecting a certain kind of movie. Particularly with this, I think everybody who saw the movie got what they expected.
Mm.
There's
Hmm.
very little deviation from what you perceive based on trailers or whatever distributed content to what you got. I think that plays a factor in a lot of people's enjoyment of content that they like and enjoy. Like you hit the nail earlier about talking about how this also just discusses the economic side of things, like the class they're living in the hood, and their landlord's a shitty landlord cutting corners. Like when this movie came out, like a couple months ago, there was a
Hmm.
story here in Atlanta of shitty landlords in like luxury apartments, not properly like having fire prevention systems in their building. Like a whole like top floor of multiple apartment buildings got, you know, destroyed and people had to be displaced. Like shit like that. Like it's a real thing, and then their struggles of, surviving in the hood. And it has a topic you love. You like women's wrongs with, SZA's character who can't, get her shit straight and she's on this new age Zen. Oh, if I think it'll come true, but ignoring all her flaws at the same time, which I low key found really infuriating. Like, and that's what I love. I think with Issa Rae, she is very underrated in her understanding of comedy. It's not like when you look at this movie and you say, "Oh, Maude Apatow is in this movie." Then you think about a movie on a level like, "Oh, this is something that." Her father would have made with probably all white cast, which would have did raised reviews. She has like you said, people from Abbott Elementary, people from like the studio. It's not lost on me the fact that after HBO decided not to continue the Black Woman sketch comedy show, a lot of those women who are also in Issa Circle, who was also on the show, are also featured in different bits and pieces in this movie as well. You know, um, yeah, and I like Kiki and SZA's dynamic reminds me very much of classic comedy. Abbott and Costello, your straight man and your funny man. Kiki's playing your straight man, who's still able to hit comedic notes. but the payoff for the comedy is her reaction to what Sis is doing in every situation, which is hilarious to spectate.
Hmm. Yeah, I think even though I don't think Issa Rae wrote the script or
No.
anything like that, she just produced it. But I do love her philosophy of just like keeping her like the circle of people who she's around, who she probably came up with in projects that she does. Um, she's very like uplifting of the people that who she has worked with before, and I think that's amazing. I love that kind of way of working. I think it's so important. Um, but there is something really fun about like watching young black women like not have everything together all the time. um it is nice. Like I think the character that SZA plays is very like this girl was working my last nerve, to be honest. But I also feel like you can understand where that is coming from. Like this is a person who's obviously like who has is very talented and gifted, but I think maybe somewhere along the way, like things didn't work out for her, or maybe like her self esteem wasn't as high as maybe other people. So she's like messing with these nothing men and like,
Yeah.
you know, not really like locked in. She's not,
She's coping from like issues,
yeah, she's
and
not
use
present with us. You know what
yeah.
I mean? She's somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's kind of annoying, especially if you are not like that. Because to me, I'm just like, oh no, if I know my friend is like that, you can give me the rent and I'll pay it. I'm
Yeah.
not giving you the rent to
Yeah.
pay the money. Like, why would I do that? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, how do I know the bill would actually get paid? You know what I'm saying? So, but that's just my personality. And I guess for for the character of Kiki plays, I think maybe Kiki is also just more like some people like that kind of dynamic where
Hmm.
they're like used to that. Like they kind of need the chaos. I'm not
Hmm.
sure, but that's what it was giving to me. Because I was like, oh, I couldn't be friends with someone like SZA. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Peace and love, but absolutely not.
No.
Um, but I do think that like the fact that they are like she's always encouraging Kiki's character, but then like when Kiki's like, no, like you need to also take your own advice and like not continue to entertain this homeless man, like and like stand up for yourself
Hmm.
and this like and also like put yourself out there, like put your work out there. The fact that like they were able to get the money because of her artwork, it's like, girl, and she was about to give that away for free. Like, honey, like we all have to know like our own worth and like know what like, especially when you're in the creative fields and
Yeah.
people like always want to judge you for like not having a real job and X, Y, and Z. Like sometimes you end up like devaluing what you do because it's not contributing to society in the way that other people
Yeah.
are seeing it. And that was a very real thing. Like that hit me. I was like,
That
yeah, I
yeah.
totally get what that is. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
you just don't. Sometimes you're like, oh,
Yeah.
whatever. This isn't like, oh, I just did this little thing. It's not that important. You know, you don't really, it's not the first thing that you bring up in conversations and being like, hey, what do you do? You're not like, oh, I'm a content creator, I'm a podcaster. Like sometimes you don't say it because you don't think it has the value that it does. But like,
Mhm.
we have to like get out of that mindset and just being like, no, like I actually love doing this and I work hard at it. Let me share it with you. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that was real. And I really appreciated that. And that's how you know that like artists were working on this because
Yeah.
like, we've been there. We know
Yeah.
what that's like. And it's like, yeah, scene.
Yeah, and especially as a black artist, whatever creative
Yes.
field you're in, you kind of do get lambasted of, oh, if I'm not, where these other people are at, your sense of self-worth and value you kind of dim your own light, a lot. And I've had that happen to me. I still do that sometimes. It's a really hard thing to fight and correct. So, having that friend who will always constantly big you up and build your confidence is always an amazing thing. Um, in that sense. And the other thing to like SZA's character is I find funny is I think that we're more accepting as a society and a culture of characters in that mindset when they're white and not black.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
so the fact that SZA's zaniness and her willingness to float, in a way is was kind of like off-putting for us as black people to watch because uh standards, optics, respectability politics. So we're like, yo, girl, get together, which also comes to a head at the end where Kiki's talking to another black woman from the
Yes.
same neighborhood, from the same apartment complex. And she gets in a fight at the job interview, even though she has the best interview. And because they're the only two black women in that situation, she goes, "No, I cannot be associated with you because you're not what we were expecting. You're not what we're looking for." That fight of maintaining respectability in public settings is really hard, especially when you're a black person, most when you're a black woman. There are certain standards and responsibilities and models that you're supposed to uphold.
Yeah. There's like, you got to work harder, 2 times, 10 times harder than everybody else and whatever. And that scene was really hard to watch because I was just like, please don't like get this girl, don't get Drew involved in your mess. Like she's doing this. She went through all this struggle to get to this interview and she's like killing it. I was like, I so want this for you. And then when things started to fall apart, I was just like, damn. But it's funny because I watched the movie first and then I watched these creators who I really like watch the film. And they're younger than me and they're all white boys.
Hmm.
And then when that part came up, one of the guys was like, you know what? I feel like she's still gonna get it though. And I
Yeah,
was like, that's interesting because like I didn't even really know for sure she would get it.
yeah.
Like I didn't know if like Miss Thing was gonna come back around to the
Hmm.
neighborhood and actually like they would meet or anything. I kind of thought that like once that opportunity was done, it was done.
Yeah,
But it was so interesting seeing it from someone else's perspective who wasn't black for them to be like, no, actually, I think it'll still work out for them. Like that's a very I don't know what that means. I'm not really even sure, but it was interesting for me to see that because I was just like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe because like for them, it like that is something that's normal. Like you get second and third chances, so
yeah,
maybe in their minds they're just like, well, yeah, and for sure it'll work out.
yeah.
But for me, I'm like, oh no, you only really get that one shot.
Yeah, that's not the world I live in. Like that's
That's
it.
not
Like
the world I live in.
and you
Like,
feel for her because in the beginning she's like
yeah.
all these other people who are franchise managers, which is weird because 9 times out of 10 is not what other restaurants I know is the corporate side.
Mm-hmm.
I think the corporations hire franchise managers, and on when you the licensee, like you own a McDonald's, but it's not a part of the McDonald's corporation kind of thing. The
Mm-hmm.
owner can hire a franchise manager. But for her, she was like, yeah, all these people who have these positions all have degrees, and I'm like 15 credits short, with my degree. And her sister's like, you do all the things your manager does even better. And I know we've seen that personally where people in powers that be, do not have the skills or knowledge base to necessarily run a company in certain capacities, and they think they do, and the work is relied on a lot of other people. But and that's also a thing for us as black people. Like we don't get a second or third chances. We might have the skills and all qualifications that is necessary to be leaders, but because we don't have this perceived piece of paper, as Dr. Umar would say, white man's paperwork, we're not considered as valuable, based on our life experience and our knowledge. So
Oh my God. Yeah. It's crazy. But I like that things do actually end up working out in the end. Um, and that a lot of the times when black people make it, sometimes their motive is to get into white spaces and they're not really trying to like help out people from the community.
mm,
um but like I was saying earlier, because that's how I think that Issa Rae works, it is good to have people who have made it and then they go, okay, you know what, I see what you're doing, I see what you're able to bring, and I'm going to invest in that, and I'm gonna take a chance on that, put
yeah.
my reputation and whatever on the fact that you can like rise to the occasion and you can actually do this. So that's how I want like more black people to operate. And I'm
Hmm.
maybe they do, and maybe I'm just not saying it. I think I've had those experiences where black people have been like, yo, like I got you, and they have actually had me. So
Hmm.
like I do think that that is a thing. I just want it to be more widespread because I feel like if that is the mentality, like we can actually really elevate and actually do way more cool
Yeah.
stuff than
Yeah.
our counterparts are doing, let's say that.
Yeah.
So that was like, again, there were just like really great moments in there. Also, like the fact that Maud Apatow was in this movie and that she literally was just used to like get the connects.
Yeah.
I was like, I love that
Mhm.
because that's kind of how it is. It's just like we do need you, but we just need you for this like one thing, and then it's like, please go home. You know,
Yeah.
um, that was also very real, and just a whole bunch of things that were like sprinkled in this movie that was just very relatable. I think to everyone, but also specifically if you're like a black person, if you're a black woman, like there was a lot of things in there, especially the things about the relationships. I think that was a huge thing when it came to not only SZA's thing, but also Keke Palmer's man, who she was just like, oh, he's from this neighborhood. Like he's probably not doing anything with his life, and he's a firefighter, and he's like doing well. I was like, yes. Like I think that sometimes there's a lot of conversation. I don't know if you're hearing these conversations, but
Yeah.
for the black women, where it's talking about finding a high value man and all that other stuff, right? And sometimes that kind of language can be very like dismissive of black men in general. Um, and I think that the fact that like you had these two counterparts, you had one person who was just like slumming it, just trying to like get by, sleeping in other people's houses, not committing, cheating, doing all this kind of mess. But you also had a different kind of guy, came up in the same neighborhood, lives in the area, but is doing what he needs to do. Like, I think that it's good to kind of show both, but also be like, you know what? Not all men or not all black men are like not doing what they need to be doing or like just chasing white women. Like you can find some
Yeah.
gems.
Yeah. Like the perception, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that because she also like she features like up and coming talent that are also black men in this movie. Like you have Joshua O'Neill,
Mm.
known on Instagram for his videos and stuff like that. Who was seen in the Black Lady sketch show. Who now features in a prominent role in this movie. She had Desi Banks. If he's like he was also same line Instagram, Vine, that kind of thing. He has a lot of content for an audience. Like my dad will watch his stuff on like Facebook,
Oh.
like that kind of thing, you know. And he doesn't get as talented as the amount of money he makes. He was seen on Shannon Sharp's podcast where they had a discussion about what he's doing, the stuff he's producing, how much he actually puts work into it, and he doesn't get the exposure to a wider American audience,
Mm.
compared to his contemporaries. But he's doing a lot of the work where other creators in their fields, other talent in their field, predominantly a white background, Netflix will sign him up for deals, and stuff like that. And
Mm.
she puts these two men who've been on the grind, who've been putting work, who are known, in her project as well. So yeah,
Yeah, it's like I think it's really cool that this is a black movie and it's made by black people and like our experiences are centered. It's not as much as a novelty as it probably was like 10, 15 years ago, but it's still refreshing because it's not like the norm.
the
It's not
norm.
like
Yeah,
every other movie you're seeing is,
yeah,
centering black people. Unfortunately, like I said last time, sometimes you just get two or three a year. So we've gotten two and it's just spring.
yeah,
So that's really exciting. I just want like more of that.
yeah. Yeah, and it's not lost. Like to me, the central thing in this movie is community. The
Yeah, and I
connection
love it.
between SZA and Lauren. Everybody they're interacting with. Vanessa Bell Calloway being a mother figure in the community. Having her little shop selling like orange
Hmm.
juice and honey buns, and people just knocking on her door like, "Yo, you got this? Cool. Let me drop off $1, to thank you." And at the end of the movie, what makes them successful, you got is the fact that they had their whole community come together to put on this art show. So these two, girls can make their rent. You got Cat Williams being a cautionary tale of these payday loan scams. Like, don't do that shit. That
Hmm.
kind of thing at the core of it, whether it's a talent she hires, the the outcome of the movie with them making rent, them her getting her new job, even her connecting with, you know, Bethany, Maude Apatow's character, their
Mhm.
neighbor, them relying on community to succeed, which is something that's not championed in a lot in media or in society.
Mhm.
It seems to me like as we've declined as a society, particularly in this country, that seems to be the result of it. We're not working together as a community anymore.
Yes, and that's definitely what needs to happen. I think that that would actually like help so many people, like if they just felt like they had other people who they could rely on. Um, because I think one of the myths about like American dream is like you just have to figure it out, like just do it by yourself. It's a very individualistic type of thing where it's like that's not how anyone lives their lives, I don't think.
Hmm.
Even wealthy people, like they're getting money from their parents, like they're getting set up. Like everyone relies on other people to get by in one way or another. Like so it's so weird that the idea of like success and the idea of like having your life together is so dependent on you just figuring things out for yourself, where it's just like most of us like need help from other people, whether it's financially, whether it's emotionally, like that's just how we most of us get by. So it's just weird. I don't know. It's just a very it just feels like not a real thing
Yeah,
to even think that way.
yeah,
So I'm just really happy that the person who directed it is a man.
yeah.
I just we're talking about Easter egg, like she directed this movie. No, she
That
didn't.
whole team,
But that whole team, they
yeah,
really focused on community and friendship, and I just love it. I
yeah,
loved it. I love this movie.
yeah,
That's my review.
yeah. All right. So just going over some box office news over the past week of sitting at number 10, King of Kings, fifth weekend. Of course it's, Angel Face Studios, um, Easter film. Of course, Angel Studios itself has some usual, sometimes questionable marketing and finance tactics. And sitting at ninth is The Amateur, its fifth weekend made about $1 million. It's a espionage kind of spy thriller starring Robbie Malek, who plays an analyst who now decides to go on revenge after his wife dies. Um, Once again, not no real marketing noise behind it, which will be the continuing issue with a lot of these movies. Of at AEF Shadow Force made 2 million domestically, both starring Kerry Washington and Omar Sy of Lupin fame on Netflix. Um, it was valued at well, not valued. The production budget for this movie was $40 million. So far it's looking like it might be the first box office bomb of the summer. Once again, zero information about this movie. It honestly, the fact it involves both Kerry Washington and Omar Sy, who was known for his content on Netflix, probably would have been better if this movie was on Netflix as a streamer only exclusive. Following that at 70th Fight or Flight, with $2 million in its opening, starring Josh Hartnett. Kind of the same action thriller set on a plane, currently at about 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is now continuing Josh Hartnett's slow return into the limelight following Oppenheimer and following what's it, not Smile, the movie where he plays the
A
killer.
trap.
Yeah, yeah, the trap. He's kind of returning back to the limelight with that. Number six is Until Dawn. Much like Last of Us, this is a Sony-based game adaptation. 2 million only in its third week. 18 million domestic. Knowing Sony and probably what money they spent on producing this is another box office bomb. Once again, zero marketing behind any of these movies so far that have been failing in the box office. A big success though at number five is Clown in the Cornfield. First weekend, almost 4 million domestically, but this was a micro budget film produced by IFC. IFC is known for making wonderful independent content. Movie was made on a budget of $1 million. So IFC is one of IFC's IFC, or I forgot what distributor they used for this project. It's one of their biggest openings, and it's being proved profitable. Basically made four times this budget already. despite it being a kind of average, typical, horror movie. The Accountant 2, of course, starring Ben Affleck and John Bernthal, sits coming at number four with 6 million made in its third week. Um, yeah, so it's gonna have steady numbers because it's one of the few, up till now, action movies and also in movie with a predominantly adult targeted audience outside of two other movies in the top three. Number three, of course, Minecraft. Made 8 million last week, and it's last weekend and its sixth week. Um, almost like 909 million globally. It's gonna hit that $1 billion milestone. Is probably gonna be the first one of the year to hit that. Of course, the Sinners movie we talked about both other week, and also in talking about the landscape of black cinema in this episode. It was fourth week. It's made so far global almost $300 million. It's hopefully it makes a $1 billion club. I don't see it happening though, but the fact that this movie has made what it's made so far is an amazing testament to the creativity and the buying power of black people as a whole. And of course, number one, second week, Thunderbolts, no question about it. Already close to having 300 million globally. In its second weekend, hopefully it's potentially for the MCU is hitting its pre-pandemic days. And continuing on to Thunderbolts, it has seemed that Jake Schrader, the director of Thunderbolts, has been tapped to direct Marvel's new X-Men movie. Um, Sources say the deal is in early talks but hasn't been finalized. Of course, with the success of Thunderbolts, he kind of has catapulted to the top of Disney's wish list at the box office, even though it kind of had a slow box office getting started. With its first week, it only made about 8 million domestically, but of course now so far making almost 300 million globally. Odds are they're hoping that support from critics audience will continue to bolster the movie. Um, uh, Michael Leslie, who wrote the Hunger Games about the Songbird Estates, has been penned to come up with a screenplay. With of course Kevin Feige on board to produce. There are no other details about the film, but prior to his success with Marvel, uh, Jake directed Franken Robot, a sci-fi drama in 2012, a romantic comedy in 2015 called Paper Towns, and episodes of Netflix's Beef, and of course Star Wars' Skeleton Crew, which is probably what also helped him set the base for being tapped to direct both Thunderbolts and potentially the X-Men film. Um, yeah, and this is piggybacking, of course, off Deadpool and Wolverine, Fantastic Four, as well. I think right now, as far as I forgot the kid's name. I know he's a Schwarzenegger. He's on the White Lotus. He's also in potential talks to potentially be in the movie. Odds are that he's probably going to play Cyclops, aka Scott, in this new rebranded or reinvigorated version of the X-Men under Disney's umbrella.
Okay, we'll see. Our next story is about Jude Law and Andrew Garfield, who are set to play Siegfried and Roy in Apple's limited series Wild Things. So Jude Law and Andrew Garfield have signed on to star in the limited series about the iconic magicians Siegfried and Roy. The 8 episode series was first reported to be in the works at Apple back in 2022. As reported at the time, it is based on the Apple original podcast, Wild Things, Siegfried and Roy. Law will star as Siegfried and Garfield will star as Roy, with production set to commence in the fall. Um, I okay. I'm excited to see these two actors in a limited series. That'll be fun. I think they're obviously both amazing, and the hair. I'm interested to see about the wigs and what they'll be doing with the wigs. That'll be fun. Will it be a lot of wig acting? Who's to say? And also, will they be working with real animals? That's my question. Like, are you guys like, I hope they don't, for the safety of everyone. Like, I don't think you can adequately train any wild animal, especially like lions and tigers and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
the way I would never be on that set. Just because like um so will they be, CGI animals? I don't know, but that seems really risky. So I just hope everyone's safe and that they do it safely. But Siegfried and Roy are such like a iconic part of like I don't know. I used to watch like Animal Planet and stuff back in the day, and like these guys would come up every now and again. So like it's a part of my childhood in a weird way, but like I am excited to see what they do with it because I don't really know anything about the history of them. I just know that like in Vegas, they were a very big show. Like you would go to Vegas and go and get your tickets to go see Siegfried and Roy. Like just do absolutely crazy things. Which so I'm excited to see like what they're gonna do. They're both very like serious actors. So I'm sure they're gonna be very intense about the material. Um, but yeah, I'm okay. Work. That's what I say to that.
Yeah, I'm like Jude Law is like so like he's gone out from like doing a lot of the bigger films he
Yeah.
wasn't before. He's kind of toned down. He's kind of varying a lot more of his projects, of course, this biggest one comes to name, especially in light of what's been happening, young Pope and new Pope, you know. But yeah, still I'm happy to see Jude Law still getting work done because honestly one of my favorite actors as well. So um continuing that, I know you're going to be happy about this, and a lot of fans of The Office will be happy about this. But an Office spin-off slash offshoot called The Paper is set to premiere in September. Peacock, gave people a first look at their new mockumentary, kind of set in the same universe and world as Office. It was released a part of NBC Universal's upfront presentation to advertisers past Monday. Well, Monday tonight or today as of this recording. Um, Cast members include Domhnall Gleeson, Sabrina Impactor, and Oscar Nunez. They all three of them appeared on stage. Other than the fact that the show is coming out in September, an exact premiere date hasn't been noticed. The official synopsis of the project is the documentary crew that immortalized Dunder Mifflin's Scranton branch is in search of a new subject when they discover a historic Midwestern newspaper and a publisher trying to revive it. Um, so the presentation that was presented showcases that it takes place in the offices of the Toledo Truth Teller. Um, uh, it reveals that, of course, Oscar Nunez's character is working as an accountant for the paper, and he's not happy to, see the crew again, based on shenanigans he experienced with them, in the office. So, I know you're looking forward to it. I'm kind of skeptical on the success of it, being that it has been so long, since the office has, concluded. It's not like in the vein of Ted Lasso, where it's still kind of recent and still kind of viable to me. But hopefully this works out for the Peacock.
I love how you were like, you're gonna love this.
I
And
mean,
I'm
yeah,
like, not
I'm
really.
not really an Office fan. I know you were a fan of The Office, correct?
I am. I am a fan
Yeah.
of The Office, but that doesn't mean I'm necessarily a fan of the
Oh, I'm
spinoff
sorry. Not
idea.
some Office fans will enjoy this. Not Cindy though.
Yeah.
She won't enjoy this, but
I
some of
know.
you guys
No,
listening
I mean, I don't know. I have to wait until the show comes out for me to have an answer on that. But I do love Dom Gleason. So
will.
sorry, it's Donal. That's how you pronounce his name.
Donald, yes.
Donal. Um, so like maybe it'll be good. I've heard about this because I listened to the Office Ladies podcast and they have been talking about this
Hmm.
kind of off and on. I don't know if it's gonna work. I'm just unsure. I mean, the same creators of that are doing this one, so like maybe I think that has like a more viable chance of like it being pretty okay.
Hmm.
I just I don't know. I feel like The Office was kind of like a time capsule of like life where it's like you can't really replicate it just because even though it was a recreation of the English version of it,
Hmm.
I don't know when that ended, but I feel like the US one started pretty shortly after the original one ended. So maybe it felt like you were still kind of in that same period of time where like
Yeah.
but I don't know, it seems like they're not going to do the same thing with it like they did with The Office in terms of like having a really like a kooky boss who doesn't really like shouldn't have been in that position
Yeah.
and having all these kooky workers. It seems like they might go the parks and recreation route where it's more just like people are optimistic and like working together.
Mm,
And if they do that version of it, I'm more interested in that because I do think that like Parks and Rec for me is I actually like Parks and Rec better than I like The Office. So I if they go that route, I'm more interested in that. So like we'll see what happens with it. Um I'll watch it and see what happens, but
yeah.
like I'm not like excited. I'm just like okay.
Yeah, I'm not I'm wondering how the success will be as well. Yes, of course, Oscar Nunez was in the original main cast of the show for this entire run, but he's
Mhm.
not particularly a fan favorite or that well-known character to galvanize people into watching. So I'm sad to say it might have been a mistake involving him in returning to this project. Um, we'll see, how it goes beyond that. But like you said, other mockumentaries style shows still kind of exist. You mentioned Parks and Recs. I think this is also due to like the new revival of the genre slash subgenre thanks to the success of Abbott Elementary as well. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Mhm.
Um,
What's our last story? So our last story is about the Golden Globes adding a best podcast category for its 2026 category, which I did not know this was happening. Okay, so the Golden Globes are expanding into the audio world. The organization has announced a new award category honoring the best podcast of the year, broadening its recognition of creative storytelling. The category will debut at the 83rd Golden Globe Award, scheduled for January the 11th, 2026. Organizers said that the move reflects the growing influence and reach of podcasts in the entertainment industry, which is true. Every celebrity is on somebody's podcast. So
yeah.
honestly, and it's like a huge marketing tool. It was like a huge marketing tool for the election. Like it has a lot of power, which is really cool. Um, and so it's fun that they're like including it into their awards.
Mm,
I think that I think that's really amazing. Now, I don't know if it'll be just like, because like this article is saying that the top podcast are, Smartless with Jason Bateman, Sean Haynes, Will Knight, all very famous actors. Call Her Daddy, that's Alex Cooper. Everyone knows who that is. And Joe Rogan, which Lord help us if that is. Anyways. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see like who gets to be a part of that um you know that part of those nominations.
mm,
I guess it'll totally be focused on like the top ones, but a lot of actors have podcasts.
yeah,
So is it going to be like that, or are we going to look more like broadly? I don't know. It seems like it'll still be like a numbers thing, just like it is in the actual industry. So
yeah.
but I'm interested that they're including it as a part of storytelling. I think that's really smart because I do think that that's true.
Mm.
So at least it's getting the recognition there. I'm not mad at this.
I mean, it's kind of hard as to how you define storytelling because when you have, like you said, smart lists, you got Call Dad, you got the Joe Rogan experience. How do you define those like storytelling? Especially the Joe Rogan experience is mostly like a talk show interview kind of thing. I think if they're gonna add podcasts, they should probably diversify the category. But obviously we know once they said it's going to be a top 25 podcast globally or in the States, 9 times out of 10 is going to be already known individuals like
Yeah.
celebrities.
Hmm.
Um, that's why I think iHeartRadio and their stuff, the Webby Awards, they have a broader scope, and the Webby Awards also can includes a lot of digital media format, like people who make stuff on YouTube, whether it's big or small, Twitch, Instagram, podcasters. They kind of, divide everybody up into different wheel wells instead of saying, "Oh, you're the top best person on our format for this category. You're in." But they actually delineate, episodic, podcast, short form, like review, like talk show kind of stuff, like what we do. I think if the Golden Globes is attempting to add this category, I think they should define it a little bit more or broaden it and with different topics as well and categories. So
Yeah. I'm not sure how they're gonna do it. I feel like because there are podcasts that actually do have like I know a lot of the true crime podcasts, it is at like an actual story. Like they are
Yeah,
laying things out for you. But if you're doing like a Los Culturistas where it's just like famous people are talking to other famous people,
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
It's just you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not sure what like the not that there's no value in recognizing that, but I'm just wondering like
How does
is it
that film?
storytelling?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I guess people are sharing their stories, so like maybe I don't know. I guess they'll figure it out before before they air.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So let's talk about what we have been watching this week.
I had a busy week, went down to our alma mater, Oakwood University, to celebrate my cousins graduating, with their bachelor's. One also graduated last year, but she completed her master's in like a year.
Mm.
So props to them. Had a busy time running around. I only got to, watch a movie today and watch a movie one night in a hotel room. I finally saw Fast Nine. I did not miss anything from ending my enjoyment of this franchise. The absurdity of like a Ford Pinto in space still like annoys me. Then you got Vin Diesel, the girl who plays Mia and John Cena. You're telling me they're siblings. You got clearly one Hispanic person, one biracial man, and the whitest of whitest men, and you're telling me they're siblings. Please,
Yeah,
please.
it's about family. So
Okay, all right, okay. Okay. Other than that, like today I did watch, we mentioned a couple weeks ago the Beatles documentary series coming out, four different movies. Well, potentially five. Wouldn't it be five kind of almost?
who's the fifth Beatle?
No, I'm saying because it's like it's all five of their experiences on their whole journey. But like we said, certain shots are going to be featured in the same movie. Well, in every movie, but it's different
Well,
perspective.
we don't know. We have
Okay.
no idea how they're
Okay.
gonna
Yeah,
make
true.
it.
You're right. You're right.
It's
You're right.
right now it's just for covering the four members. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But I decided to watch their, mockumentary, A Hard
Yay.
Day's Night.
How did you feel about
Um,
it?
I I
Hard
can see the
day's
focus of the
night.
movie, like you can tell if you're a Beatles fan. The focus of the movie was more or less on George, not George, on John and Paul. One of the main, antagonists in the picture is a guy playing Paul's grandfather, causing massive amount of chaos. But him and both Paul and John got a lot of the good, quote unquote, good scenes and stuff. George Harrison, of course, is featured there because the three of them are predominantly the leading songwriters for the Beatles, and my man Ringo's just kind of there, until like the third act where he's like, "Oh shit, where's this man? We need to find him," and then
Mm.
half the time Ringo is there just kind of being the butt of the joke or taking the piss out of himself, which I think is an evolution of the person he started to become uh as an entertainer and performer before he got his chance, with Octopus's Garden and in Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts, where we want weird shit. Ringo, write some weird shit. He's like, I got it, kind of thing. But I still loved it. They still were able to show like I said, pieces of their personalities in it, even though it was dominated, of course, by both John and Paul. But you do still see glimpses of them underneath it. So yeah. And the fact this was shot like in 6 weeks is amazing. And like
Mm.
1964 is hilarious. Like we started in March and we're done by, I think, June for their release, which is crazy at that time.
Yeah. And what I didn't realize, and I think there's a fair amount of criticism about the Beatles and their um how do you say let's say call it love of black music.
Yeah.
um I I will say for all of that, one, I don't think it's wrong to be inspired by black music. I think that if you're white, I think that that's fine. I think
Yeah.
that that just shows the quality of the music that's getting made. But second of all, they were really like pioneers in terms of like that movie was actually one of the first kind of ideas of like a music video
Yeah.
because their music was embedded into the film, but like just the idea of like taking certain shots and putting them together to music, I think that was one of the first, not saying that that was the first one, I'm just saying one of the first kind
Yeah.
of iterations of what a music video was.
Yeah.
So like that is so dope.
Yeah.
Also, the soundtrack to A Hard Day's Night goes so hard. Like those songs are so good.
Yeah.
Like just amazing pop music. Like, yes, they absolutely were killing it. Like, love it down. That's such a good movie too. I had so much fun watching that movie because it's like kind of heightened version. It is like it's a mockumentary in a
Yeah.
weird way. Like it's scripted, but like it's supposed to still feel like it's just for guys just having fun. Um, and I do think that George was the best actor on it. Even though the movie was focused more on Paul and John, I do think that he was killing it in his scenes. So I have to throw one up for my favorite Beatle.
Yeah.
Um, and just so the Beatles fans don't come for us,
Yeah.
Octopus's Garden was on Abbey Road.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm perfectly aware. Like, yeah. I look. I'm a Beatles fan too. I love their music.
Yeah.
Strawberry Fields is probably
Oh my god, amazing.
So yeah. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me. Okay, so I the way I was about to be like, all right, so see you guys later. Yes, I watched Thunderbolts.
Mm.
Um, I'm not gonna spoil the new title. I'm sure it's probably been spoiled for everyone, but it was spoiled for me before I watched it. But let's call it Thunderbolts. I watched that and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It
Mm.
was, I think that it was like beautiful in a way, not in terms of like how it looks necessarily, but just in terms of like the messaging of the movie about like again community, friendship. Like everyone's talking about this is just like insert Jamie Lee Curtis being like the movie is about trauma. It's a study in trauma. It's just like it is about trauma, honestly, and people's mental health, which is so funny that they like made a movie about that just because it's like Marvel, like the most devoid of any kind of not always, just in
Pathos.
terms of
Yeah.
recently where it's just like they're just pumping stuff out, like whatever. But this was like thoughtful. The performances were really good. Like everyone seemed like they were clocking in to like do this job. Um, Florence Pugh leads it and honestly kills it. Like her and Lewis Pullman, who I didn't even know about. I didn't watch Top Gun. That's why I didn't know about him. But
Hmm.
amazing. Literally stole the show. Um, they were rocking it. Like everyone was just doing like such a good job. And like the movie wasn't trying to do a whole bunch of stuff. Like it was very focused. And I really appreciated that. Um, you didn't need to watch all the other movies to understand what was going on,
Hmm.
which is great because I didn't. I didn't watch Brave New World, so I don't even know what the hell happened in that one. Um, and it sets up a movie that we know is coming out in 2 months. Like what it's trying to, and I think someone else who reviewed it said it really great, was like they weren't trying to like do a whole bunch of stuff and try to set up stuff that like, oh, it's an idea of a movie that may or may not get made. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, okay, well then that didn't go anywhere. So what was the point of that post-credit scene? Blah blah blah. It sets up a movie that we know is coming out in July. We are aware, we watched the trailer right before we watched the movie. Like everything is very clear in terms of like what is happening right now. And it's just, it honestly reminded me of the first Avengers, where it was just like, you feel excited about what's coming next. And I think that that's a feeling that I haven't had in a long time when it comes to Marvel, where I'm like, okay, I'm invested in like where this story goes. I want to see these characters and other things. And these are characters who I really didn't care about at all.
Yeah.
And somehow they packaged it and put it together in a way that's like, oh, these people are compelling and I'm interested now. So I'm excited for Fantastic Four because like, I don't know what they're gonna do with it, but I'm excited for that. I'm excited for, is it Secret Wars is coming out? No, it's Doomsday.
Doomsday.
That's the first one, yeah, that they're working on right now. So yeah, I left the movie feeling excited for what's next, and I have not felt that way with the Marvel film in such a long time. It's in terms of like the hype of what Thunderbolts is getting. I feel like what it's giving is like you wanna clock back in. I think that's the kind of highest compliment you can give that kind of movie. It's like, okay, I'm interested again.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people you know say the writing on this has made them change their view of course, the idea of U.S. agent who he is. I've seen people say the writing done to like not rehabilitate his character because his character is a perception of America and a critique on it, which is fairly really valid. But this is kind of what like they've given him a path. Like the difference I think with people's still acceptance of Anthony Mackie's Captain America is the fact that he kind of, for all intents and purposes, is very much a centerline person. At least with Steve, he was very much anti X, Y, and Z. But U.S. Agent John Walker, he's very much I'm not the right person for the job like Steve, but I'm a soldier. I'm for the law. Where Steve kind of has that nuance. To do right or wrong. John is like, I'm perfectly, this is the line, I'm on this side. Whereas, Anthony Mackie's, Captain America is just dead center. He's not really for or against anything. He's just more like, hey, everybody, both sides are wrong, or both sides are right. I mean, both sides are right kind of thing, which doesn't give him enough depth as a character. And I think that's also why, not beyond the race thing, but I also think that's why people are not connecting with his character the way they should be. So
that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that is it from us this week. We hope that you're all doing well and taking care of yourselves. Make sure to check out all of our social media. Support us if you can, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.
Au revoir.